Oh well, at least it was just a TV show. It's not like we had a whole movie
Yeah.
that did that exact same thing. And oh wait,
Oh, wait, it was. Yeah.
so we decided to watch Baby Driver,
hmm
which I had never seen this before. Had you seen any of it?
I had not seen it, no.
No, but it was definitely on my to watch list.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, it's the the titular Baby Driver, the actor Ansel Elgort, is in. He's in Tokyo Vice. He's the lead guy in that show, so that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this movie because I liked him in that show. Um, but yeah, this movie was odd, another odd uh, little little movie that I know a lot of people really enjoy it, but I kind of I had a hard time getting into it, especially in the third act, which we'll get into once we get that far. But yeah,
Yeah. So this thing was apparently Edgar Wright's version of James Cameron's Avatar, in the sense that it's an idea he had for a movie like 20 years ago, or 20 years before this came out in 2015 or so.
20 I think 2017.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
But came out. He'd been working on it for 20 years, and I guess he finally got enough cachet to make it happen.
yeah, because he had done Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. Uh, Although, oh no, Last Night in Soho was after this one. But yeah, yeah, he's and of course I think he directed this movie after he got fired from Ant-Man.
Yeah, which I always hear everybody bemoan, "Oh, we could have gotten a better version of Ant-Man with Edgar Wright in charge."
I don't know about that.
Yeah, watching this is kind of making me question that.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing about this movie. This movie is the fight scene from Hot Fuzz, where they fight the zombies in sync with the Queen music, as an entire movie.
Oh, Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Did I say Hot Fuzz? Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
Excuse
yeah.
me.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's that Corey. It's that synced in sync with the music zombie fight scene for an entire movie.
Yeah, yeah. Because so the I said this before when we were talking before the show, but I mean this is one of those movies that has a gimmick to it, and like what you were saying. So like the gimmick of it is, and the reason for the music thing is, Baby has tinnitus, or is it tinnitus or tinnitus? I don't know.
Um, I think tinnitus.
Tonight, I've always heard tinnitus, which is a constant ringing in your ears, and he drowns out the ringing by listening to music in his earbuds, and he listens to the music when he's driving the getaway car. And so the whole movie is basically having all of these action scenes in sync, in tune with the music that he's listening to.
Right. Sometimes it'll be little beats of the action, like a turning of the wheel or something,
Yeah,
or him hitting the accelerator. In gunfights, it'll be like the gunfire will be in sync with the song perfectly.
yeah. And it and so that's kind of the basic hook of it, and then you've got it. The whole movie is basically focused on him. I mean, I think he's like in almost every scene in the movie, practically, um, except for maybe like one or two here and there. But so the plot of the movie is, Baby is he's a getaway driver for a criminal who's played by Kevin Spacey, and he works for Kevin Spacey reluctantly because he Baby had a really rough childhood. His parents died in a car wreck. He was raised
And,
by
and it
his
wasn't much better before that.
no, it wasn't much better before that. Yeah, his dad was a real prick. Um, And so he was raised by his foster father, who's deaf. And so he spent his childhood stealing cars, and he happened to one of the cars he stole happened to belong to Kevin Spacey. And Spacey tracked him down and said, "All right, well, you're gonna work off your debt to me." And so that's how he became his getaway driver. And they Spacey hires a crew of different criminals to rob banks or rob uh, armored trucks, and and basically Baby gets like 1% of the share that he would have gotten normally. Um, up until and then he does like one last there's like one last job that he does. Well, so the first job is with John Bernthal, John Hamm, and John Hamm's wife in the movie. Um, and then the second job is with Jamie Foxx and two other guys. And the scene where they're all putting on these. They told him they tell before the job they tell him, okay, wear these Michael Myers Halloween masks. So one of the guys who buys the masks, he buys Austin Powers masks because they're like, oh, Michael Myers,
Yeah.
yeah, and Mike Myers, Halloween mask. He's like, no, it's Halloween. These are Halloween masks. No, Michael Myers, the from the Halloween movies, the killer. Oh, you mean Jason?
Yeah. That's a good example of the type of dialogue you get in this movie,
Yeah,
where it's like it for a lot of it, it didn't really hit home for me. Like I thought the situation was funny, but the dialogue always just seemed a little tin to me, or too clever to me.
yeah, which tends to happen with Edgar Wright movies. If you go back and watch some of them, like the he'll do that sometimes, and it's like, okay, come on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So Baby does his last couple of jobs. His foster father is not too happy about this, but since he's deaf and wheelchair bound, he can't exactly force him to stop with this racing.
Yeah, yeah, and then he goes and he frequents a diner uh, where um, where his mother worked, and then he meets a waitress named Deborah, who's played by Lily James, who if you watch Downton Abbey, I believe she was on Downton Abbey. Um, and she was Cinderella in the Disney live action Cinderella.
Okay.
Uh, um, and so they have this real whirlwind romance, and then but then Spacey shows up and tells Baby, "Hey, I got more work for you to do
Right.
because."
You aren't out of the gang just because you paid off your debt.
Right, yeah, because and from his perspective, it's like, you're a really good getaway driver, and I have every job you've done for me has been successful. Like, I'm not letting you walk away, man.
You're my good luck charm, man.
Yeah, yeah. So they got one more. So they planning another job to rob a post office. Uh,
Get some money transfer orders that their guy can use to turn each transfer order into $1,000.
right, and now it's John Hamm, John Hamm's wife, and then Jamie Foxx. And of course, things just start getting really bad because Jamie Foxx's character is very trigger happy. He's just a total psychopath.
Right. Like they're getting the weapons for it.
Yeah,
And here was an example of like the overly clever dialogue. Okay, so they're doing a gun buy,
yeah,
and the guy who's running the gun buy comes out and he says, "Oh, you're." I don't know if he was doing this just because he was being ironic or if he was worried about them being bugged or something.
yeah,
But he's like, "Oh, we sell only the finest cuts of meat of pork here, and
yeah,
oh, here we have the the sides." He
yeah,
pulls
yeah,
there's a whole bunch of rifles, and then of course we have the best hawks in the business. He reveals a bunch of grenades.
yeah, yeah. And
Eh,
he's got, oh, we got this great bacon, and yeah, and it's like more rifles, and yeah. Yeah, and then of course Jamie Foxx, he sees that they're all police weapons, so he thinks that these guys are cops, and
Right? And he recognizes one of them as a cop who had put him away.
yeah, and so he just proceeds to shoot them, and then they get into this gunfight and take the guns away, and then they go back to their hideout, and Spacey's like, yeah, those were my cops. They were
Right?
I was paying
I
them
paid for
off.
them.
Yeah, yeah. You screwed up royally, dudes.
Yeah. And so then, yeah, so it's basically just it's baby trying to get out of it,
Right.
out of this criminal life, and run off with his girlfriend.
Yeah, and it the and I alluded to this earlier, but the third act of the movie, when they go and they rob the post office. Well, okay, so before that, uh, baby tries to leave, and then he gets stopped by John Hamm and Jamie Foxx, and then they go to his apartment and they beat up his foster father, and then they find a bunch of tapes, uh,
Oh
because
yeah,
he yeah because so
and I even mentioned this when I was watching it.
yeah. Yeah,
Like,
he
uh,
likes to record the conversations with people. Yeah,
and then he turns them into remixes.
yeah, and because yeah, and I think Jamie Foxx was the one who sees him or recording the conversations, and so then they go to his apartment, they beat up his foster father, and they get the tape remixes and listen to them, and so they basically are like, okay, you're out, baby, and but baby's like, no, 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 I can do this, and da da da, and um, so then they end up going to the post office to do the robbery of the post office, but then baby takes action and he kills Jamie Foxx by driving the car, forward where there's a bunch of rebar sticking out, and impales him with it, and like the the third act of the movie to me really drug on way too long, because it was like, okay, they do one thing, and then like then they go, and then he goes to another place, and then he's got to do something, and then he has to leave that place and he has to go somewhere else, and then he has to leave that place and go somewhere else, and then it just
Right. And then they have to steal some cars from somebody.
yeah.
And then they end up in a parking garage. And John Hamm has been chasing him down, even though he's been shot several times by now.
Yes, yeah, because he's mad because the job went south, and then his wife got killed in a shootout.
Yep.
Yeah,
Now, I would say that one of the I would just say that probably one of my bigger problems with the movie, outside of getting tired of the gimmick pretty early on,
yeah.
like I legitimately remember thinking during the first chase sequence in the first act of the movie, "Oh no, is this what the whole movie's going to be?"
Yeah,
Because this is like a because it's like one of those things where it's kind of funny to do like as a thing in the middle of an action scene, but putting the whole action scene to the song just like got very tiring very quickly.
yeah. Yeah, it did, yeah, and then it was like, okay, yeah, so every chase scene and every action scene was gonna have some weird beat set to the music, and like, oh, okay.
And even some of the non-action scenes, like interactions he has with his foster father and his girlfriend,
Yeah.
uh, were put to the music.
Hmm.
But I would actually say that Ansel Elgort's performance as Baby, and or maybe just the writing of Baby, was another problem with it because he's a very closed off character. He's always has his earbuds in. He usually is, or he often is wearing sunglasses,
Yeah,
so you can't fully see what he's doing, and he just kind of sulks his way through the movie.
yeah, I think and I think that's the way the character was written. Because like I said, I mean, I've seen him in Tokyo Vice. He's really good in that show. So I'm assuming it's just the way the character is written.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just didn't really work for me because I had a hard time connecting with the character.
Yeah.
And it's like you can kind of sympathize with the situation, but it's also you have been profiting off of this for a very long time.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And although he does end up using that money for kind of for something good, which
Right.
was,
He puts up his foster dad in a nice retirement home.
yeah. Um, but yeah, and the yeah, but the whole end of the movie was just like getting so repetitive, and then um,
It almost felt like Edgar Wright couldn't decide what songs he wanted to do for the last act, so he did all of them.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And the thing is, like each song is, I think most of the songs are played to completion, right?
I think so, yeah, or very near completion, yeah,
So it's not even like you have like snippets of songs. It's
yeah,
just like the fight scene has to be several songs long.
yeah, yeah, and it, yeah, you know, disappointing to say the least, yeah,
Yeah, because I've been looking forward to this for a while. Now, in terms of positive points, I will say that John Hamm's character does something really bastardly to him at the end. Like,
hmm
yeah, I'm going to take away your ability to enjoy things. He just fires twice right next to his ears when his whole existence is listening to this music.
yeah, yeah,
That was cold.
yeah, that was, yeah, yeah. I saw something similar in Copland. I don't know if you ever seen that movie with Sylvester Stallone.
No.
He plays a cop who he plays like a small town sheriff,
Hmm.
and he wanted to be an NYPD cop, but he lost hearing in his left ear.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the movie, the bad guy shoots the gun right next to his good ear, so it just makes him completely
Oh,
deaf. Like, jeez,
yeah, that's a jerk move.
yeah,
Um, as far as negatives, so I would say that the mobster characters were mostly on point for the type of character they were. Like, you know, Jamie Foxx is having fun hamming it up as a psychopath.
yeah, yeah,
John Hamm comes across as kind of like the intense but passionate guy who's mostly professional until he's given a reason not to be.
yeah.
Kevin Spacey almost seemed too nice. Like he definitely had a soft spot for Baby.
Yeah, 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 I noticed that too. Like, yeah, for as a but he has this underlying thing, like, but he's not afraid to threaten baby, to get him to do what he wants. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, there's this kind of weird like dynamic where he definitely has definitely cares for him in some weird twisted way.
Yeah. I would also say that Lily James's character is a weak point because, you know, put a gun to someone's head who watched this movie. Name two traits that the character has besides being a cute waitress who has a soft spot for Baby.
Um, she's a good singer.
Okay, you got one.
uh, 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 yeah, I got nothing else. Aw,
So yeah, she didn't really have any personality. Was
yeah,
kind of the thing. Like they clearly had like some chemistry between them, but that's different than her being an interesting character in herself.
yeah. I think she reminded him of his mom.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, now that I think about it, I wonder if part of or if the movie could have had more edge if it had been more willing to make Baby more villainous.
Mm,
Because, like, he's a reluctant villain. He's a good boy. He's taking care of his elderly minority deaf foster parent who watched after him for all those years. And oh, he hates doing this, but he has to do it. And oh, he's nice and he makes him his favorite peanut butter sandwich with the peanut butter spread all the way to the edge. And
edge.
this girl falls in love with him right away. And
Yeah.
oh, he's a good boy and he wants to go and do the honest thing, but he's pulled back into the life because Kevin Spacey is too mean. And in his trial at the end, when he's finally caught, multiple people he was responsible for robbing, including one woman whose car he stole. It's like, oh, yeah, he. Then the weirdest thing, he said, "I'm sorry," and tossed me my purse. And oh,
Yeah.
I think that he saved me from going into the post office because he knew something was going to happen. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, okay, okay, we get it. Baby's a nice kid.
Yeah.
Wait
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, if they made him a little more ruthless, like, like,
wait a minute. Is
yeah.
Baby a Mary Sue?
Oh. Oh, he might be. Oh, jeez.
Because he has characters who are irrationally fond of him,
Yeah. Hmm.
and the characters who dislike him are always the villain.
Yeah.
Like Jamie Foxx doesn't seem to like him from the start.
Right, yeah, and John Hamm hates him at the end.
Right?
Uh,
Though John Hamm, okay, he probably had the most reason of anybody in the movie for anything they did.
yeah, yeah.
But like Kevin Spacey, the ruthless mob boss, has a soft spot in his heart for him, and even as he's destroyed his enterprise, he's willing to help him out, and even dies in a gunfight trying to protect them.
Yeah. Yeah, and Baby really doesn't face, like, devastating challenges.
No,
Yeah.
maybe. So I'm going to pitch my alternate take on this. Have Baby be a more willing participant in this. If you're going to have Kevin Spacey basically be his father figure anyway,
Mhm.
um, just have him be his adopted father or father.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe even he became his foster father after seeing that this orphan boy was able to steal his car and give him a good chase.
Yeah. Or, or better yet, give him a better reason to wanna to rob and to participating in the robberies, like, like paying his foster father's medical bills, or
Right, like make it more of a choice rather than do it or die.
yeah, yeah.
Which that's another like Mary Sue-ish type thing where it's like, oh, but he doesn't want to do this criminal stuff that's really cool and bitchin' awesome. He's forced to.
Yeah,
And then you have more room for Lily to come in and reform him by the love of an honest woman and all that.
yeah, yeah,
And then like and then the bit where he leaves and becomes a pizza delivery boy for a while,
yeah,
uh, and could have more meaning because he'd be breaking away from being a criminal for the first time in forever. And then it becomes more tragic when Kevin Spacey shows him and goes, "Yeah, you weren't out of the gang. What are you talking about?"
yeah, yeah,
Dang, I kind of want to see that version of the movie now because I think that lack of edge is part of what I didn't like about it.
yeah,
It's edgy
yeah,
in the wrong spots.
yeah. I think you cracked the code there. Yeah.
Uh, Now, here's the thing: we are a minority opinion on this one. Like, I
Hmm.
looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes. If you, as much as you trust it, it's like a 96% critic review, 80 something percent audience review. Everyone I've ever heard talk about this, ranging from Genghis Khan to Andrew Clavin, raved about this movie. It could just be that it's a gimmick that didn't appeal to us because of our particular tastes.
Yeah,
Um, but what I think is that the style and like it was executed extremely well. Like it's a challenge, it's a technical achievement to sync all of that action and driving and gunfire and everything to the music the way they did.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
So if you can ignore us being cranks about, oh, the characters weren't very interesting,
yeah,
you can probably have a good time.
yeah, yeah,
But dang, that might be the man. I can't think of the last time I declared a character a Mary Sue, and I was not expecting it to be for Baby Driver.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Surprising. Yeah.